Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show.
Hi, good afternoon everybody, and Happy New Year. Can you believe it's 2026? Oh my gosh, I've been on this earth a long time, a very long time. Oh dear. Okay, so we have a very interesting show, I think, today. I mean, I never really know what the questions are going to be, but I think we have some very interesting ones, and we have a really interesting studio audience. Did you notice that we're all women sitting here? Freddie's somewhere in the background who might be coming back to join us, but right now, let's go on with the show. And thank you for my loyal listeners. I do appreciate every one of you, although I can't see you and you can see me, but I really appreciate audience participation. Questions is my thing. Oh, and before we forget, anybody that's watching, maybe you can explain more about the YouTube, because it does take me a few seconds, and I really am beginning to see that, to get into my mode, and it's hard for me to talk about things that I need the audience to know. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Dawn, for a second while I concentrate on getting my spirit guides in.
And getting to your guides, you can find Sally's book on Amazon or Author House. You can also scan the QR code at the bottom of your screen right here. It'll take you right to the link of her book. And she talks about her whole life, her stories, her time travel, everything that she's been through, how she found her guide, the interpretations of her dreams, and her artwork. It's a compelling story. And if you actually put all the pieces together, you're going to see kind of where Sally is at today, and she's got a second edition that is going to be coming out soon, as well as her movie, hopefully. But in the meantime, check out her book. It's Call Me Zena, and you can get that at Amazon or Author House. You can also check out her website, Art by Sally Bernard, and see all the beautiful artwork that she has that you can also order on clothes, and more to come with that. But check out her YouTube channel, because Facebook only keeps these shows up for 30 days. Any shows up for 30 days. YouTube channel, Call Me Zena, is always there. You can see all of her shows that have been here for the past 3 years, watch the evolution of what's happening and really what her calling is. But I find today's topic really interesting. It's on spirit guides, and apparently we all have them. We may not know who they are. We may not realize that we can speak to them and that they are guiding us. But what's so interesting is your guide can only guide you, but you still have free choice. So you can lead the horse to water, but they cannot make you drink it. So it's really interesting. The free will still prevails, but just listen to the messages and see what's happening. But what an interesting topic, and Happy New Year, Sally.
Thank you, Dawn. I didn't realize so much about myself until you started talking about me.
It's really so fascinating.
Okay, but I am here, though.
And your book is fascinating because you didn't realize you always had this gift, but you did. So I wanted to be careful on how I phrase it, because everyone is born with a gift. It's just harnessing your gift and getting in touch with your gift and really listening to your spirit guides and what's out there, because you didn't really start using your gift until you were older.
No, and I didn't. And the last thing I ever wanted to do was wake up in the middle of the night and take notes. However, I did that many years ago, and I'm very happy today that I have, because I kind of was documenting everything that was happening to me, which I thought were my dreams, although they seemed strange that it was a dream and I still could remember. So I'm very happy that I did that. And it was something that I ordinarily would never have done. But I was led on this path, and it's a long time ago now. We're going back quite a few years. And here I am, and I guess I do tune in, and I never kind of really say that too much, but I am there now. So questions, we've got a wonderful studio audience here right now. Questions are welcome. So
we're talking today about spirit guides.
We are, yes.
And what are spirit guides exactly?
Well, spirit guides, they're guides that are with us. They are with us through our I'm going to say lifetimes, because by now, and I'm sure my following, they believe in past lives. So we've all had many different lifetimes, and they stay with us. But they also, at this point, which they're going to tell me more a little bit about this, is that we have guides for certain things. We have guides if we're not feeling well. We have guides for our love life. We have guides for all the things that go on in our lives. It's not just one person. There may be someone overlooking everything that's happening to us. It's just like here, really, but they can lead us into a direction, but we have free will. So we hear these little things. If we just take the time and we stop to listen what our gut feeling is, it's them probably most likely talking to us. But they can't tell it. They can warn us of certain things. We can feel, oh, I shouldn't go down that street, or I shouldn't do this. But they can't actually interfere because we have free will. However, there are angels, which I'm now understanding much more, that are different from our spirit guides. They're angels that have not incarnated. Our guides have incarnated in different lifetimes. That's how they're able to choose where they're going to guide us. An angel has never incarnated, and they help us if they see something, or we're about to have an accident, you hear, which we call a miracle, which basically it is a miracle. They'll help us. And actually, the other day, I do believe that this happened. Steve was driving the car. It was later in the evening, and this is the second time this week that maybe he doesn't like me talking about this, but this has happened to him for some reason. It was dark, so he actually didn't see a car coming, and we just finished dinner with his friends, and we came out, and I said, I actually said, are you okay to drive? I don't know why I even say that. I'm in his car a lot of times. And he said, yes, of course I'm okay to drive. And as we came out, there was a car coming the other way. And I don't know how he stopped, but he did. It was 1 inch into going into the car. The other car was honking like crazy. And we were very lucky at that point to not have gotten to a bad accident. And today is a subject that we're talking about, and I do believe that we were protected, whether it was a guide protecting us or an angel that stopped. I mean, we were an inch away from that car when he pulled up. So I had a fright, he had a fright, and I'm sure the person in the other car didn't stop honking us. But we were all right. It wasn't, and it didn't happen, but we're all protected. We might say, well, I don't know, this is happening and that is happening, but they can talk to us, but it's also up to us to listen. If they're helping us, just like I'm talking here, my audience here, I've lost it for a second. Okay, give me another question. Maybe I was going on too long about that.
Talking about the difference between spirit guides and angels.
Okay, a spirit guides have all had incarnations, and they kind of specialize in their jobs. An angel has not incarnated, so they're here to guide us, but they haven't actually had the experience that we're going through. However, having said that, we choose, and usually our guides have had many incarnations with us, so they pretty well know us as we do them, but we don't really listen. I mean, it takes a lot. Many people, we talk about having had an out of body, then you'll begin to wake up. If you've had an experience that is, and you can't explain it, then we might say, there's something else going on. Then we start listening a little bit more. We pray. Even with prayer, we pray for something because we're then putting it out there. Do we really listen afterwards? A lot of people don't. They feel better about praying, about talking about it. But I shouldn't say a lot of people do believe in prayer, but it's the same thing. We're talking to what we would call probably the unknown. But they know us, so they're not unknown.
So spirit guides, you always refer to Elizabeth. Spirit guide or angel?
No, she's a spirit guide, because she's had an incarnation. She has had an incarnation with her at some point, okay. Even if they've had one or two. But I believe they've had many, because they also have, this is just coming to me, but I heard a program on television the other day about this. They also they've had experience here. So we pick, when we're on the other side of the veil, we pick certain people to help us through this, I'm going to say, mess here on earth right now. So we pick them, so they pretty well know us through other incarnations, and they've had similar experiences. I'm only beginning to really understand that. And yet in my book, when I spoke to my spirit guide, and I still have my guide here in physicality, he said to me he was calling in an apprentice. I didn't, as another spirit guide for me, because she was still learning. I had no idea what I was talking about. But today, his words, Aldo's words, who had incarnated here to be with me, is making so much sense. So I don't expect, especially people that are listening, that are just tuning in, to even begin to understand it, because it's taken me many years. But the more you listen to yourself, and the more that you listen, and people like myself that talk about this and that have had experience, open up more, and the more will happen, and we can pass these messages on. Even if it's just a few messages, pass it on to somebody so that they may begin to realize that there's much more than what we see here.
It's interesting because the first time I recall a guy talking to me, that doesn't mean it was the first time it happened. The first time I actually listened and realized it wasn't just a voice in my head, that was actually a message, was probably about 10 years ago when I started literally working with Freddie, and I had this pivotal opportunity, choice to make, and they couldn't make the choice. There was a choice I had to between two things, and it was the voice saying, go ahead and do this because you can do it this way, and to trust. But at that point, I didn't realize it.
Right.
And I'm like, wow, that was the first time I actually remember hearing it and understanding
That's
what
a
that
perfect
voice was.
example of what we're talking about, Dawn. I had had many prior to me actually having an out-of-body experience and then projecting myself many times that I could have maybe started my journey. But then now when you begin to open up, you look back and you begin to see some of the things that you thought you were talking to yourself about, that maybe it was something else that was, that we don't necessarily see, giving us the advice. And we can see it maybe 5 or 6 years later of things that had happened 20 years ago, once you begin to open up. And it's so very important, especially, I keep saying now, because we all know what's going on in the world today. It's crazy. And to know, isn't it comforting to know that there are people watching, every single one of us? We all have guides. We have angels that they don't interfere, but they can stop something happening. If they see it's necessary to do that, they do appear. Many people say that they've seen something. Many people recover from an illness right away. Doctors don't understand it. Doctors don't necessarily talk about it. Some doctors do. They've opened up completely to this. But it happens. There are what we call miracles all around us all the time.
I guess we should open it up. I know you have some questions.
I do, but I got a question leading to these questions. Sally, a lot of people say, spiritual guides help me achieve whatever. But it's the human benefit, the human characteristic that influences us more than any spiritual guide. If somebody tells you not to do something, a person, and they give you 50 reasons why not to, and spiritually you feel you should, who are you going to listen to?
You listen to your own gut. You listen to the spirituality part of yourself, Freddie, and then you still go ahead. It doesn't matter if long as you feel that it's the right thing to do, because we do get swayed. A spirit guide is going to help you and talk to you, and we can explain that maybe as a gut feeling. You don't necessarily have to see your guide, but if you feel that this is the way that you want to go, that's usually the right way to go.
Yeah, but 90% of the time, we don't feel our gut. We listen with our ears. Our ears become our gut, and we listen to advice. Good, bad, or indifferent is not what I'm saying. But we listen to what other people verbalize, as opposed to listening to our gut. I don't know if anybody else feels that way in here.
Well, you're absolutely right. But I hope with people like me talking about it on the show and becoming more aware that there is something else and there may be somebody guiding us just by opening. The main thing to this whole thing, everything, is to believe. Believe that there is something more than what we just see. We can see a good way of explaining that, the invisible becomes visible. That's what I'm hearing right now. So the more you believe, the more these things happen. They happen to all of us, but we put a block up there. We let other people, other humans tell us what to do. We all do that. We listen, we ask for advice, we get it all different ways, different things, as you're saying. Many, many different advice. But your gut, if your gut feeling, once you're aware of it, tells you, I don't know, the energy here isn't right, go with your gut.
Okay, Karen.
Does that help?
I was gonna ask. So I'm gonna be a little bit personal about my life.
That's okay.
At the age of 16, I was in foster care, and I was living with a foster mom and foster sisters. It was just all women in the home. My depression hit really hard at 16, and I'm not proud, but I took 120 pills to end my life, and I was in my foster mom's house, and I started losing sensation in my legs, and I heard this voice saying, "Karen, get up. Karen, get up." And it was a guy. And I'm like, but then I tried to get up, and since I had no sense in my legs, I fell, and there was a glass table in the living room that woke up my foster mom and sisters because it had broken, and she rushed me to the hospital. And like, I'm not proud of that because it's hard when you're dealing with so much mental illness and all these diagnoses that are happening. But when you listen to your heart and you listen to that voice, they're not guiding you wrong. They're actually leading you to the right path. And, for me, I've had a few out-of-body experience, but there's always been that one who just reaches out, grabs my hand, and helps me get back
Karen,
up.
thank you so much for sharing that. And we sometimes relive what we're going through although it's many years later. And I really, really, by telling your part of the story and how you were helped, because you were helped, you're here, and you were helped and you were taken to hospital. It's difficult to go back to those times, but that took a lot, and thank you. And there are many people, we don't know who's listening to this show, and they might just help somebody, and that's what my show is hopefully doing for people, and that's what I want to do, to pass this message on. Yes, we are guided. Yes, you had your guide, because the truth is what happened afterwards. Many people, don't survive that, but then again, we choose we have many exits. We don't just have one. We have several exits that we can leave this life. But the ones when people have had, or similar to what you had, and you have an out-of-body experience afterwards, I feel personally that we should share that information because we're helping other people. So thank you for that. And let's see, maybe a viewer might want to call in, or somebody else might want to share something, but I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I think I have a question too. So when you talk about this guide and their voice and when they speak to you, do you already have like an active inner voice? Because for me, I have ADHD, and I feel like I hear thoughts and not a voice. Well, I guess I could say my voice, but I hear it in my head all the time. So how would somebody like me be able to tell the difference between this is just my inner voice that's always going, or is this a spirit guide telling me something?
Well, that actually is a very good question, and I think it's a feeling that you're going to get, Sydney. It's something that, then at that point, when you're not sure if it's just your mind playing tricks with you, or it's genuinely a spirit guide helping you, if you can, to relax at that point and ask another question, because they're ready. They can only hear us when we well, they can hear us anyway, but they don't know what question you're going to ask. So if it's relating to something and you want to feel more that it is the guide and not your mind, I know you mentioned that you have ADHD, but the fact that you know that is a good thing, because you know to then turn yourself inwards, relax, breathe, and then ask the question again and see what happens, no matter what it is. And if at that point you still feel, I'm going to say, confused because you're not sure where it's coming from, do it again, relax and see what happens. Because you have to be at a certain point. You have to be relaxed to even hear that. But if you're not sure, then we need some sort of like validation on that. So I recommend that maybe you do that.
Okay,
Hopefully it
thank
helps.
you.
Thank you.
I think that the question I have then, if you take her example, is she hears a lot of things, she feels other things in her instincts. But again, are we listening more to ourselves, or we have a tendency of listening more to what I call the outside noise? Because you're never going to rely on yourself if you let yourself go with everything else that's around you. Or are you?
Well, we're humans in a human body here having all the same experience. So we have a mind that it likes to play tricks on us sometimes. So the more that we feed into what's happening and we see that it's just not going right, because that's the only way we can really, tell the difference. You have to believe that you're being helped, because without that, you're not even going to listen in the first place. So even in the height of passion, when everything is going wrong, if you can just excuse yourself from a situation, which my friend who was my guide here, Aldo, used to do. He used to say, I need to go and sit in another room. I did not understand exactly what he was doing at the time. It could have been anything. I still argued with him, and he was, but not too badly, but he would always excuse himself, because then you need to get in touch with your inner self, because there's no other way to explain which way if you're listening to your mind or someone that's guiding you. But at that point, as long as you believe that you're being helped, you'll see other things happening. Synchronicity will take over. You may turn the TV on and there'll be something just in answer to what is bothering you. It happens. They're able to do that. You just need, the most important thing is to believe that they are trying to contact us.
Well, I think, Sally, I think this is an interesting point right there. So if you were to ask everybody in here, like Ava from Florida had a question, how do spiritual guides communicate with us? Can any of us answer that question? Have you ever felt the spiritual guide has communicated with you?
Okay, I like that question, because yes and no. No, you can't. I can't actually say to you, I can tell you I can see someone there and they're talking to you. You've got to believe that. But you know what? When you hear that message, no matter what it is, and you go ahead and do that, and it works out, pretty sure it was your spirit guide. Not always, but our mind plays tricks on us. And if it's important enough to talk to your spirit guide and they know that, they will help you. So do I have a way of proving for sure? No, but
it's not you proving. It's not you proving. Like Max, I would ask Max.
Yourself.
Max, have you ever had a spiritual guide moment?
Yeah.
And you knew that this was something else talking to you in your subconscious?
Yes, but it's really hard. Sometimes it is really hard to say.
No, don't have to say it. I just want to know if you had that.
Yeah.
Okay, and what about you, Karen? And you?
I don't know.
Okay,
But
well,
now
that's fair.
But now she's aware of it. So maybe you ask her
that's
that
the point.
question.
Yes.
Maybe a month or two from now, she might say yes, because she's aware that this can happen. It's with anything, Freddie. If you know that it can happen, you kind of wait for it to happen. But if you're not even aware that it could happen, then you've closed your mind on it. That's
Well,
a good example.
Darren was sitting in this chair. He does not have that aspect of being spoken to by spiritual guide. But my point is, if you have a room and 90% of the people have had that experience, and I'm going to assume that Dawn has as well.
Yeah, Dawn
I know
has.
I have.
I'm answering for you. I'm sorry.
And the only one, well, Dawn, have you ever had? So that I don't answer for you.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the beginning of the show.
Yeah. So everybody in here except one person has a maybe. It's not a no. Has had the experience. But then do you follow the advice?
Well, then we have free will, which I'd mentioned before, and that's important to know that too. I'm sorry, I kind of always look at someone when we have free will. So, we can play games with ourselves and say, this is what I think and my guide is telling me that time. And then you realize that you asked a question and you are actually, because you need to ask them. many times, you know, they're not just going to do this, they can help. But if you ask a question and the answer that you think is coming from you, but you're not sure, maybe it's your guide, the answer to the question, if it's answered the way that you wanted it to go and it's going to say, let's benefit you, pretty sure it's your spirit guide. Is there a way of actually proving this? No, but the awareness is what can help you prove this, because you are being, each and every one of us is being led. But we don't listen a lot of the time. Belief is very important, that you're being helped, because without that they can just continue talking, and just like you can meet somebody here in physicality and you don't you know, we're not listening sometimes when it's good advice. Same thing.
Because I think a lot of times there's so much noise in our surroundings that you don't realize what's going on in your mind, because there's noise and people are over talking and running and doing. And you can have your spirit guides with you all the time, which we do. But unless you can quiet the noise and decipher.
But that's where meditation comes in. I meditate because I know what I now do, but if I explain to other people what I did, it may not be good for them the way that I do it to meditate, to get to where I want to. I do it, whatever you feel, just sit quietly, and whatever can distract your mind, focus on it, and you'll be surprised what happens. I was reading something the other day, someone wrote on Facebook, it was a spiritual site, where they see like a round circle, and then they go into that circle and things were beginning to happen. Actually, that's what happens to me. I see something and I go in. So I wrote back, just go with it and see what happens. Expect something to see, because it's hard to calm your mind. But that's the key to a lot of the answers that we ask ourselves, what we ask ourselves. The answers, and I wrote prose many years ago, and one of the things I wrote, the answers are all around us, but you have to go with what we call go within. Go within to yourself and see what happens. What's the worst way if it doesn't show up or it doesn't turn out? You know, maybe it was our mind.
I got a question from Ethan in Missouri. It says, do guys provide direct answers or subtle nudges?
Well, they have the answers, but they'll give us subtle nudges. You know, you'll see certain things. You'll see, and I know this happens to me many, many times. I mean, Steve's not here to verify this, but obviously I wouldn't be talking on the air if it wasn't happening. But I can be watching TV and I'll quietly ask my guide something. I always put it down to Aldo, because I'm giving him a lot of work on the other side. But I say, Aldo, give me the answer on the TV, and it happens exactly, or I'll change a station, I'll go into something else. They're able to do that. And I'm saying, well, how was the timing on that? But the timing was for me to ask the question too. It works both ways. I've had many, many answers that way. Or I'll turn something on my car and listen to a tune. I want to hear from someone. I know what songs relate myself. My daughter, as you know, people know, passed a few years ago, and I know the song. Or her name was Caroline. I will hear Sweet Caroline, and you know that. As soon as I turn it on, that split moment, yes, it's a popular song, but I should turn on the radio at that particular moment that Sweet Caroline is coming through. It happens. They're able to do this. We just need to believe that it can happen, and then you'll see all sorts of synchronicity.
As I was thinking the other day, like, as children, our parents raise us, right? And we're taught what we're taught in school, and you know, whoever is our educator as children. But when you grow up and you're making choices, and your choices aren't the right ones, and you're like going in the wrong direction, how is it that the spirit guide brings you back?
Well, they'll bring you back. We are here to learn, Karen. So a lot of the negativity that we have, we've also chosen to have. So they are aware of that too, because out of negativity can come positivity. So I say to people, if they're going through something, it's a lesson that you're learning, but there comes a time that enough is enough, you know, and that's when they will talk with you, but they'll also let you go through certain things, because that's why we're here. We're here to continue our journey and to get more of a spiritual, as I call it, awakening. And many people today, they're going through tough times because they need to begin to see that there is more, because otherwise we're not. They call it waking up, and I'm sure most of the audience today knows what that is.
Can I ask you one more
Sure.
thing?
I knew that
Is a spirit?
I know, by all means, but I knew that you had a question you wanted to ask me at that point. Yeah.
Is a spirit guide like the sunshine, the wind, the a certain smell, or like how do we relate to spirit
That's
guides?
a great question, Karen. Yes, because you begin to know. I know certain spirit guides, what they'll show me before they come through. I also know that if you ask a question and you suddenly see a rainbow, I'm sure that's not coincidence, right? At that split moment, or many times, many things we can relate to. But I have one specific. I don't know who he is, because it's a collective of people that I bring in. But he'll always say, does that make sense to you? And when he's with me, my questions, I'm not aware I'm saying that, but I'll explain something and always end up saying, does that make sense? That's not me talking, that's him. So they all have their own ways of showing you they're around. I relate with Aldo because he has many things and certain songs that he'll show me too, that he's around. And I keep giving him all these things, and I think I'm bothering Aldo. I'm sorry.
Ready to take a commercial break?
Yes, we're going to take a commercial break, and we have some more questions coming back on the other side of my show, not the other side.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com, or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show.
Hi, welcome back. I think we have some good questions coming up.
Max, you have any questions?
Yeah, I do have another question.
Perfect.
Karen, you made me think about, you were saying how the spirit guides, they're always trying to guide us towards something good. But like, you know how in the movies there's sometimes, this is kind of a silly question, but like a little angel on one shoulder and a little like devil on another shoulder. Are there any, like, I don't want to say malevolent spirit guides, but tricky?
Absolutely there are, because, and that's also a very good question, because I haven't mentioned that. When we start doing this, it's always, and I'm sure I know that Aldo is protecting me, but the best way to walk through life actually is to protect yourself, because if you put a shield up and ask whatever is going on for your highest, best interest that's helping you in your lifetime, because they're mischievous too. I'm not going to say light and dark. We all know that, and that is possible, and it is happening, but we look at it a different way. Because if you start being fearful of something, you're going to bring in what we would call the dark side. So protect yourself with a shield. Just know that wherever you go or whatever you're doing, you're going to be okay. And it
Makes so much sense.
Thank you.
So if we're children of light when we come into the world, why do we turn dark and hide our light and have to go through that?
Well, that's also a very great question, and I knew that before the show started, because we're here to learn. And negativity can be turned into positivity, because if it didn't mean that much or it hurt that much, you're not really going to learn from it. But finally you can say, I've had enough, because even your guides will know that you've gone through. In fact, before we come in, we do discuss that, and we want harder things to happen to us, to sort of catapult us into more spirituality here, to know that there are answers to very difficult things. And they sometimes say to you, but that when you go through that part of your life that you chose, it's going to be difficult. And they also say, and I'm getting goosebumps, we will help you through that. Just know that we are around. Just like I'm telling people about this, they say the same things to you, so they know your darkest points. They know that sometimes you reach out, they call it your rock bottom. Help me, because maybe that's the first time you've actually looked up and said, help me, I need help. They're there. All we need to do is believe and ask, and you'll see miracles happening. But believe it.
My life.
There you go, Karen. That was no coincidences about this show. But you're here to help people. I mean, you know that. I feel that because we go through things for reasons.
Can
not
I
just
say,
for ourselves? Sure.
When I had my son's funeral, and it's almost 8 years ago, I spoke in the church, and I look back now and I'm like, holy, I didn't know what I was saying there. I didn't know about if you keep it an open casket or closed casket. Like, it was just a horrific tragedy that hit me. I wasn't prepared for it. And now I see myself. I'm about to be 800 days sober from alcohol, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to be rebellious anymore, because rebelliousness taught me a lot of lessons that weren't good. So it was like I bounced back again into an innocent child.
We go through horrific things, and that was horrific. But as you become clearer, especially if you've been into taking certain things that, make you a little disoriented and change your mind, you don't see it at that time. But when it began to get clear, it gets clear in your head, then you'll see, you can't take away the tragedy, that's for sure. But you see that there is more to life, because our loved ones, and I've lost my daughter, to brain cancer, which wasn't pleasant either, but she was older than your son. But anybody that loses a child, it's tough and it's hard, but they're with us. So even though you have the clarity today, and anybody that's suffering through any type of addiction, they can just break that addiction. They'll see it in a different way.
So if like in grief, you have to go through shock, which is probably the first one. And in that being in that shock year, I didn't know what I was doing. So who was acting through me?
Okay, and that's it's a good question, because through shock, you're sort of, and I was going to say at that point, we all go through that too, but you still can learn when you come out of that shock. The situation that you went through, you can't look at it in the height of stuff. You can't, but just know that you're being helped. That's all you need to know. I mean, we've all had horrible things in our lives, but just know that you will come out of that, and that you're learning from that. But thank you for sharing, Karen. Let's see if anybody else.
Sally, it's also, your guides will help you visualize. I got a question by the name of a person named Max from Florida, no pun intended, says, how do guides help us recognize solutions? So sometimes they don't give a solution, they help you recognize it. Tell us the difference between the two.
Well, okay, let's give an example to this. If you're asking your guide, or you're in a situation and you're aware that you have a guide, I'm absolutely going to say to you, we'll see something. It could be a sign. In fact, this happened to me before I even completely understood this. I was in sales, and my manager and I were very close. We were good friends. I worked with him for many, many years. He died suddenly and tragically. And as I walked past the resort where I had been working, I was driving past, I said, please let me know that you're around. His name, funnily enough, was Darren, who we had a Darren sitting here. And I looked up, and I had gone down that street in Orlando, Kissimmee, many times. I look up, and he was my closer. It said The Closer. I think it was a program on TV at that time. I said, oh my God, thank you, Darren, you are around. Because if he was going to show me that he was around still, he would say I was her closer because I was selling and he came in to close the sale. And I said, oh my gosh. And I was just beginning my spirituality. So they have subtle ways to show you that it's me. Someone else could look up at that sign and it didn't mean anything, but it did to me. So
That happened to Chelsea last week. We were at theater, and there were 3 front row seats open when we went to buy the tickets. And I said to her, when I was growing up, my dad used to always get us front row Broadway orchestra seats.
I just
We
have to
only
interrupt.
needed 3.
My dad always did the same. Always. I knew we were going to have the best seats. I'm sorry.
So we got the 3 seats, and we're sitting there, and intermission comes, they put the screen down. I guess all the cast members had signed it, part of it. So there was one that said Mike. And then the next screen comes down, and one of the streets in France is called Le Halle Street.
Oh, wow.
And that was my dad's name. So she's like, Mom, oh my gosh, it's there and it's there. She said this was a gift from Grandpa.
Yeah, of course.
So same type of
You've
thing, but
seen
she
that.
knew that was a message for her.
But she knew.
Yeah.
And that's the key to this. Just be aware. I mean, you're not going to imagine it because we can't imagine. You're actually going to see the physicality of what, like a sign like that. Or you can pass. I saw a billboard up saying The Closer. These little things, they do it and time it at they kind of know when we're going to ask these questions. That part I don't understand, but they're aware of what we're thinking. So you're going to see or go by something, or you'll hear something on the TV or the radio. That's synchronicity. That's not coincidence. That's synchronicity.
And these are our spirit guides sending us a message.
Yes, it definitely. And if we're in danger of any kind, the only time they will stop the danger with an angel. So we have guides, just to go over this too, is the best that I know, for specific things. If you're not well, if you're having problems, say, in your love life, if you're having relationship problems, health is very important. They send in someone that knows about health, which your father was a doctor. So, ask your father. But no, I'm going to say that. But yes, he can answer. But they do graduate. Even though whatever they did here in physicality, they can go on to do in spirit. But they also have to have training there because it's coming from a different place, as far as the best that I know. I mean, it sounds crazy. And it's crazy that I'm even coming out with this.
And I'm laughing because on the other side, she's like, oh, they need angel training on the other side.
They do.
Like, make sure you guys get it right.
But they come back and repeat what they did here. We come back to learn. It may be a different subject or a different lifetime, but we're still learning what we didn't learn in a previous life or previous lives from way back when. We continue to come in with people that we incarnate with in other lifetimes. It's really interesting. Yes.
When you have a moment that you're being rebellious, you're being stubborn, and you don't want to, you're ignoring your heart, you're ignoring your gut, you're doing what you got to do. In that moment, it kind of feels like no one's around you. Is it they're not there? Did we push them away?
No, they're making their appearance more known, so they'll keep. It's just like even here, if someone wants to get their message across and it's a friend of yours, they're not going to just stop one time. If they really want to tell you something, guess what? They'll keep telling you. So it's the same thing. It's no different on the other side. I'm going to say the other side is the veil, that is in between us. But they will continue. And the times that we really listen and say, oh, you know what, I heard that on my show or wherever, is when we really, really need them. But let's do this all the time. It doesn't have to be just because you need somebody. They're there. So any question that you want to drive them crazy, which I'm sure I'm doing with Aldo, but that's okay. He knows me. But they're there to give us the answers. They know better than us, because they've had training here, they've had training there. So you're going to someone with a lot of training.
Is it someone who reincarnated in you?
If they reincarnated with us?
Reincarnated in you.
They reincarnate within us, meaning
Does somebody choose to, like, hey, I want to be in Florida and
oh, I see what you're. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, we choose. I mean, my guide was in Peru. I'm here. He came in. No, just for a little quick talk about Aldo for a second. He came in and he lived in Peru. However, he at 1 year old, he knew he was different. He was coming out with things that reading newspapers. But he had been looking, he came in to look for me, to give me this. And it was many, many years later when he eventually came to Florida and met me, but didn't tell me because I wasn't ready to listen. But the moment I had an out-of-body experience, guess who came to me the next day and spoke to me? I could have gone through this lifetime never hearing from him, although he was working in the same place that I was at that point, waiting for me to begin to wake up. This is not a dream, this is real. This happened to me. And I was ready because I was getting all sorts of messages, one in which was to paint, which I didn't know I could. So here I am. Thank you, Karen. I hope this helps. I hope it helps people. That's what this is all about.
Sally, people sometimes have a tendency of not acknowledging what they're hearing, sort of afraid to be laughed at, or seem like people will find you strange that you have these feelings, so that you can actually understand. Can you explain a little bit about how people should welcome it, like a group session like you're doing now? It's like anything else. You know, if your parents tell you don't do this 9 out of 10 times, you don't do it 9 out of 10 times, not 10 out of 10 times.
The way that I find that I can help people and teach is by example. If I follow what I'm taught, and I don't all the time, of course, I'm human too, and I do things that against what I would ordinarily tell someone to even do. But I'm aware of it today. By passing on messages through my show, through listeners passing it on to somebody else, just to be aware in the beginning that there's something, you know, I think they say this in programs, greater than ourselves, because there is something greater. And to reach out, not always when we need help, to just reach out. They're with us. They want to make themselves known to us. It's like a friend that keeps calling you. They keep calling. There's a reason. But we don't choose to sometimes even pick up the phone. Today we know better because we see the number. I remember years ago when the phone rang, I would just not answer it, but I didn't know who was calling. Then they had voicemail, so I knew. We don't always want to pick up, only when we really need to. So that's basically, they're giving me that as an example. Pick up, talk.
I got a question from Miami. Mia, can guides collaborate with other spiritual entities?
Yes, 100%.
And what are those entities?
I see 100% here. Yeah, absolutely. They go for God. If they're not experienced in the field that you're going through right now, another guide will step in. And I'll go as far as, I know I need to look this way, to say that when they've done their job and they need somebody else during that period of time that they've guided you through, but you need extra advice on something else, if they're not able to do that, they call in another guide. So it's a continual thing. And when you've learned that lesson, then that guide will step aside and somebody else will. It's not undifferent. Like if you're going to a doctor and then you need to see someone that specializes in something, it's the same situation there. They only know so much too, but they know more than what we know here.
Did Aldo bring you here?
In this cafe?
In the cafe?
No, but I know he worked for me to get here because the first time that I was invited to come to the studio, I knew Aldo. I didn't come. But when he passed away, I got another invite from someone else that got me here. So 3 or 4 years had gone by before I came back to the studio here.
Wow.
So I was meant to come here. My only thing is that I wish that he never made himself visible. He would, well, he did to me and other people, but to actually put himself out in public to speak, because he always told me I would be his mouthpiece. But I'm so sorry that you guys never met him, even if it was just for the last month of his life, because he was real to me. People did know him, not making him up, I know that. But he never spoke in public. He wanted me to do that. And shortly after he passed, I found the studio here to start speaking in public. So yes, that happens.
But there are people who are very private, like how they handle their life and everything. And there are some that are very open, allowing everyone to see.
Well, he was one of the ones that was private. He worked on a one-to-one with me, but he knew that I was able to come and do this. I never did it through his lifetime. And that was I just suddenly seen that. He brought me here. He didn't come here. He knew I was ready now to continue doing what he had told me over the last 18, 20 years of his life. I mean, I spoke to this man every single day.
Did you see yourself in a studio?
No, I didn't.
Wow.
I didn't. But I knew that one day I would be doing this because he kept telling me, "You be my mouthpiece." Well, I am, because I talk all the time about him and his but I myself have learned so much more from my show, which he knew would happen, because a lot of this I'm being guided to speak this, but I don't always remember what I'm saying. But all I need to do is tune into YouTube and I can hear myself. YouTube, that's where we have to go. Facebook is great, but they only keep it for a month.
Now, right?
So at YouTube.
So do you have to make an announcement for when you feel like, I believe now, I see this, or I have experienced these things? Do you make an announcement like, spirit guide, whoever you are, I am ready? Or like
I
you
love
said,
that
do
question.
they just persist until you yourself are like, oh, hi? Like, how does that work?
No, announce it. Although I don't want to scare people, but they do know our thoughts. I believe that they know what's happening. But no, talk like you're asking me that question. Tell them you know they're around. Show me something. Talk to them. Because it's more validation for you too than if you just think of something. We call that synchronicity sometimes. I'll think and somebody else is thinking. They're actually talking to us, and that brings in the synchronicity.
So
but
you talk out loud to them.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, make sure what you are, but
Yeah.
but talk out loud.
Out loud. Okay.
But just look at your surroundings first and say, can I say this, right? You could
Right.
always say you're on the phone or something, right?
That is true.
Which we couldn't do years ago.
And they always have a funny sense of humor.
They have a funny sense. Yeah, absolutely, because I see certain things and go, oh my gosh, did you have a sense of humor with that? Yeah, I've actually expressed that. Yeah. And express your gratitude, you know. I mean, how lucky are we that we have people helping us here in this mess?
How do we have clairvoyance?
Well, this is, you know, I'm not hung up too much on names. I know what happens to me. Truthfully, I don't know what name is for whatever, but I know that I can hear, I can see and feel, but I'm more hearing in my head. It's like telepathy. So just if you hear something and you want to, you know, it's making sense, then you know you've got some sort of telepathy going on there.
There's something that I want to tell you. When I was a little girl and I was in Colombia for the first time, I was visiting my grandma in Cali, and my parents kind of sent me to like learn more Spanish, learn how to read Spanish, and also for my grandma to like help them out with raising me. But there was something in my grandma's patio when I woke up one night. There was a tricycle going around in a circle by itself. And then I saw the light in the bathroom flicker. And I was like, something's here. And I was 9 years old at the time.
Karen, there you go. There was your answers and everything you just said. So anybody that was wondering how would they know, perfect example for that. So thank you for that too, and describing exactly what happened. And let's see if anybody else has anything that was similar. Do you have any more questions on that, Freddie?
No, I'm amazed that Karen still remembers that.
Because these things stay in your mind. It was there for you to see that, and maybe just talking about this on the show, you suddenly realize that maybe that now you're getting your answer, as with anything. So that's why I was wondering if anybody else had anything, because that's really, really good what you just talked about.
Well, because it was, sorry, I was raised in a home where we were learning about the Bible, but it wasn't being practiced right. So it's, for me, it's like I've had this awakening just recently that was like, Karen, stop.
Because you've
No
got a
more
clear head,
past,
which
no
you've
more
obviously
toxicity.
You've talked about on the show, so I know you don't mind talking about this.
Right.
But once you get that clarity without, I'm going to say, using any mind-altering drugs, because that can involve a lot of things, including food is also a mind-alter if you overdo anything. Once you get that clarity, which you have, and you want to verbalize it, this is the best thing in the world to help people, Karen. But I'm going to just see if anybody else maybe just love your questions, and we'll talk. We talk anyways.
I think the closest experience I've had was with my dog. I didn't see anything, but she just kept like hiding under my legs and just like hiding behind me, and just like, I don't know, it was just weird. And I know that she doesn't like the sound of a lawnmower, but like nobody was doing yard work that day. And then I also know she doesn't like the sound of like the chirping when the fire needs the battery changed, but that wasn't going off either. So I was like, I don't know why she's acting like this. I only seen her act like that from those two
Well, they
sounds.
sense. Dogs,
I know.
and especially cats too.
Wow. And that's why I
Very
was scared. I was like,
psychic,
Sasha, what do
'Cause
you
they have
see? What do
hearing.
you see, girl?
Yes,
What do you
no,
see?
take note of your dog. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's dead now, but
Yeah. Well, no, even more, because I get messages. My dog, I know that, and I actually one day I don't often go to listen to psychics, but she picked on me and she said, your dog is around you, and she described my dog. So then I believe the dogs definitely can communicate with us too, so more likely to communicate with you from the other side than even here.
That's like my dog I learned about last week was visiting me.
There you go.
really.
Yeah, there you go.
How'd your dog visit you?
She was here on the show, and I didn't even realize.
Yes, we talked.
Sally-
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
And a to make not fun of this, but I said I think I'm becoming a pet psychic.
Yeah.
And I looked over there and I see a dog crawling across.
I said, "Don't worry,
Oh
I
my
see
God!
it too."
Was I happy when you said that?
Yeah.
Because it's one thing being psychic, but to actually see an animal, and we don't have animals
so
in here
funny.
that much. But here's this dog, as I'm saying, I'm a pet psychic. I think that was funny. Yeah, that was very funny.
really
Walking
funny.
across the floor.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! I don't want to do this.
That was amazing.
Sally, Harper in West Palm Beach wants to know, can humans see other people's guides?
Absolutely, yes, they can. Because a psychic, someone that just not suddenly out of the blue are they necessarily going to see someone, but a psychic can sense and feel. And with that will be a guide too, because they come into the picture, so to speak, too, because they're around us. Very often someone will say, or it could be a relative too, who can then be your guide if that's what they're meant to be doing on the other side. I see a certain person. Many people that have been to psychics know that. I mean, I'm very accurate with names. And that's my validation to know that somebody's there. So I actually got, I think it was somebody here, I got their spirit guide's name. And he knew the name, Avram.
And should you tell the person you can?
Do I tell them
Should you tell the person you can?
that you can?
See their spirit, their guide.
Well, yes and no. I mean, yes, but ask them first if they want to hear, because I'm very careful with that, because sometimes people think you're very strange. But today we're opening up much more, and you can say, I can see this person. May I give
So
you
you
the
shouldn't
message?
tell somebody you can see their guides because it makes you feel strange?
No, not me. It won't make me feel strange, but it might make the other person feel strange. So I always try to feel somebody out. But if you're seeing them, there's usually a reason why. And most people are open to, yes, what do they have to say? Some people say, no, I don't want to hear, and that's fair enough too, because that's where they are. But I think we have some sort of an obligation to say something. It depends how we open up with it, though, Freddie. I mean, someone that is, I hate to say very religious, but they are up against, their religion. And I'm not here to say right or wrong, but they may be a little bit more careful. You have to be a little bit more careful because they may not be open to this. You have to feel the person out first a little bit.
Does that person's spirit guide that's their guide? like Aldo was only your guide?
No, I'm sure they guide other people too, but I think the more I'm learning about what Aldo does, I think he overrides a lot of people. So, seriously, I think he's telling me this. If I need something for my health or my relationship, he'll send somebody in that may be more qualified.
Okay.
But he's like the one that's taken
He's
over
like the
here.
all-seer?
He did it in my life here, so why
That's
would
funny.
he not continue?
He's like your primary care doctor.
Yes, exactly. Perfect way of saying that, yes. And if it's which he had been a doctor, funny you said that, another life, but not a doctor here, but doctors thought that he was a doctor. He was able to talk a lot. I think we have 1 minute left, so I'm going to let you close as you
gonna
did
wrap
all
this
the
up.
thank yous. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Thank you, everybody, for listening. And please continue with the show here and tell people to look me up on YouTube. It's important because you can't get my back shows. Facebook is great, but YouTube will continue with the shows.
Messages, listen to your spirit guides. Listen to yourself and the voices within. And pay attention to what's around you, your surroundings.
Thank you.
You can find Sally's shows on YouTube at Call Me Zena and, of course, on Facebook right here at the studio every Monday at 3:30. You can always call into the studio to ask her questions at 888-994-4995, Studio A, and find her book at Amazon.com and AuthorHouse.com just by scanning the QR code right there at the bottom of your screen. So check it out.
I just have to thank the Brooklyn Cafe because I don't usually say that because without you, I'm only as good as the question. And thank you so much, Dawn. And thank you, Freddie. And thank you for everybody else in the
Nice
studio
job.
here.
New year,
Thank you.
new
New
ways
year.
to
Yeah.
be the better you.
Bye.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.